Hello everybody, welcome back to a brand new video, and today we are here in ESL R1 Season 2 Round 1 at Monza, and this is obviously on Rennsport, the beta game that's not released to the public yet. It's still in its development stages, and they are doing a number of esports series, and we are competing on all of them. And today, as I say, we're at Monza for Round 1. The format is quarterfinals, semi-final, then a final, 48 drivers, whittled down all the way to 12, and we are currently in the quarterfinal and we're in qualifying. So it's a one-shot quali for those who don't know, one lap, that is it, and there's 12 cars in each race. So going into turn 1, braking just after the 150 metre board down to first gear, taking a little bit of curb just to give yourself a bit more angle for the second part of that chicane, and then you get a nice straight exit. So not a bad turn 1, turn 2. Obviously turn 3, even in the GT3, is flat. And I did stream this particular race, as you can see, and going towards the second chicane, Monza obviously a horrible lap to do a one-shot quali because it's so easy to cut the track or mess up the chicanes and stuff. Clipping the inside curb on the left and a lot of the right just to, again, carry a bit more speed through the corner. Heading towards the Lesmos. First Lesmo, you go down a gear, you trail brake in, nice and tight, and then get on the power super early, use all the exit curb, brake just before 50 for Lesmo 2. Again, all about carrying speed for Lesmo 2 because you've got a long straight down to Ascari. A little kink in it, but it's flat. And, I mean, it goes without saying, I'm in the Mercedes GT3, but there's different cars on this grid. There's the BMW M4, Porsche, and Audi as well. Heading towards Ascari, braking just after that barrier ends on the right. A lot of curb on the left to open up the rest of Ascari, and then you're just sort of getting on the power as much as you can without braking traction. And then, yeah, using all that final curb, monster in the curbs to be fair in this car. Heading towards the final corner, Parabolica, it's not called that anymore, but it should be. Braking about 75 metres in a straight line, then you trail brake off and get on the power basically before the apex, hugging the corner nice and tight on the exit for a shorter run to the line, saving you a few hundredths. Across the line we set a 1:46.144, which at the time was good enough for a provisional pole, but as people started to set more and more lap times, Marcel Chinchik there setting up 1:46.071. And you can see I disappeared from my rig in my disappointment. But anyway, onto the race. It's a 9-lap race, and the lights count down from 10 all the way to 1, and away we go. And you can see there the Porsche Mirror to the left, Mitchell de Jong, got a really good start. He actually gained a few metres on us, but we boxed him in using Chinchik's car to sort of not allowing him to go anywhere. And we do brake quite late here. We brake later than Marcel, trying to make the move into turn 1 for the lead. We clipped the curb on the inside. I think, to be fair, it's hard but fair that we broke as late as we could to try and make the move, because if you're P1, obviously you're protected from the cars behind. But to be fair to Marcel, he broke quite late, held around the outside. Nothing I could do there really. But we're still in the slipstream. Slipstream is quite strong in this game now. They've tweaked around with it in the opening season. At one point it was very weak, and at one point it was very strong, and they found a nice balance, I think, so that you can race quite nicely. There's a little bit of dirty air, but not much. But the slipstream is quite powerful now, so you can sort of hang on to the car in front. So Marcel is definitely trying to break away and doing a good job of it as well. I'm sort of going with him. We're gaining a bit of a gap to Mitchell behind, and the slipstream works anywhere within 6.5 tenths. You get a little bit of toe, and the closer you get, the more powerful it gets. So it's quite realistic in that sense. Obviously, I think in real life it's slightly weaker, but I mean, to be fair, GT3 racing in real life can be a bit mundane because the slipstream is so weak. So yeah, I think it's a good thing in the game. They've made it a bit stronger, so you can have a bit more entertaining races. So yeah, the opening lap, I think at this point I'd broken away from Mitchell behind to a point where it was above 6 tenths or 6.5 tenths. So if I've got a tow from the car in front and he's going quite quickly, which Marcel is, great driver, and Mitchell behind hasn't got a tow, then there's no doubt I'm going to pull away from him. So you can see here I can definitely go for a move going into turn 1 easily. I'd probably be past him by now, to be honest. But I'm just like, right, I'm gonna stay where I am. You know, it's only the quarterfinal. I don't have to win this race, but obviously it'd be nice to. They've changed the point system in this series for season 2, where the top 6 of a quarterfinal or of a semi-final get through. But if you finish first, you get more points for finishing second, and vice versa. So every position does matter because there's more points on offer. But on lap 1 of a 9-lap race, you know, it'd just be absolutely dumb as anything to go for a move now, because if Marcel defends, or if I don't quite make it work, I do risk getting a penalty as well, but if I don't quite make it work, we're going to be backed up into the pack, back into the slipstream train, and I risk getting overtaken by multiple cars. And then, yeah, so you can see there on the screen, I got an off track for running wide at Lesmo 1. Very tricky. I mean, 6 off tracks is quite a lot. It's quite lenient over a 9-lap race, especially when you compare it to, say, the F1 game, where you get 3 over the course of like a 28-lap race, for example, or an ACC where you can do literally a 24-hour race and you only get 3 cut tracks before you get a drive-through. So 6 in 9 laps is quite lenient, but when you at these sprint races, naturally you have to be pushing 100% every single corner of every single lap. So naturally you make a few more mistakes and you need a bit more leniency with the track limits. I think for Saudi Arabia, the mid-season LAN event a few weeks ago, we had 4 track limits, which, you know, that was tough to try and make them last when you're battling other cars and stuff like that. That was very tough. But yeah, starting lap 3, again, same situation. We're pulling the cars behind. I'm not going to make a move, and I'm literally like half throttle down this straight. I mean, the toe is that powerful. And yeah, it's a new season, so everyone's on 0 points, and it's anyone's game, to be fair. Obviously, you're going to have the quick guys that are usually at the front, like your Marcels, like Josh Rogers, Dara McCormack's, Seb Job. You know, all these guys in all the different cars are going to be at the top. And I think if we want to talk about the BOP for a minute, and it's quite a boring topic, but it's worth talking about very, very briefly. The BOP in this series, out of every single series I've done, ACC, R Factor, whatever, it's the fairest I've come across. Now, there are some drawbacks to that. The way they do it is they hold a BOP week, where there's 4 or 5 days on each track, Monza, Spa, Hockenheim, Nürburgring, where every other team, or including ourselves, drives someone else's car, and you try and show that it's as quick as possible in quali trim, and then the series will BOP using power and weight reduction to basically tweak the cars to make them as equal as possible. And it's as close as I've ever seen it. Like on ACC, especially at the minute, you know, you get one car that's, say, 3 tenths quicker than every other car on the grid, or one car can be like 9 tenths off the quickest car, and it's just ridiculous. You know, it's almost pointless turning up to a race when it's like that. But I mean, the worst we've seen it is like the car can be a couple of tenths off, which is still a lot. That should not be the case, and I wish that BOP was removed from sim racing in general. But unfortunately, it is here. And but yeah, this series is the closest I've seen it. So cars are usually within now they've sort of refined it and they've got better with it, usually within a tenth of each other. So that's good. Obviously, the cars have different characteristics. So like the BMW, I think is the slowest in a straight line, whereas the Porsche is the quickest in a straight line. The Merc's sort of in the middle. Braking, I think the Audi's the best on the brakes. The Merc's not too bad on the brakes. It's not the best, but it's not too bad. BMW, I think, is the worst on the brakes. So the BMW is quick, but it's quite hard to race wheel to wheel because it has these weaknesses and stuff. But like it's give and take. You know, every car's got its weaknesses, and like the Mercedes burns the fronts more than other cars, and it's slightly more understeery than other cars. So like it's very much pros and cons, and I think overall it's fairly balanced. You know, sometimes we complain and stuff, but overall it's not too bad. As I say, compared to other series I've done, it's very good. So back to the race a minute. We're on the middle of lap 4, and it's a boring race. Spoiler alert, it's a boring race. I don't really try and do anything until the end. And we've got a big gap behind now to Brzezinski, who drives for Williams. He's 1.5 seconds, I think, behind at this point. And to be fair, as I say, we may as well skip to the latter stages of this race to see if I can get the lead. So approaching Parabolica for the final time, or the penultimate time, should I say, going into the final lap almost, we are right behind Marcel. So like a good 2 tenths max, which is perfect going onto the straight. I mean, the Audi's pretty quick in the straight line, but the Merc's not bad. And anywhere within 3 tenths going onto this straight, if you're within that gap, you've got a decent chance of getting a move done. So in the toe, he's going to stay on the outside line. He's not going to defend. We're going to go up the inside. At this point, I'm thinking, great, perfect. We're past him at this point. We're braking late. He brakes super late. Audi's really good on the brakes. We hit the curb. Bit of contact there mid-corner, no harm done, but we're still side by side. The Audi does have good acceleration as well, and it is slightly edging away from us. So he broke, to be fair to him, really late, really aggressive, ran the outside, and made it stick. So I think if he defended, he actually would have lost the position. I think being on the outside for turn 1 at Monza is actually the way you want to place your car in a battle. And again, brakes really late for the second chicane, but no mistakes made from him. Bit of a poor exit there, so we do have a run on him going into Lesmo 1. We're going to show our nose on the inside, but it was a risky one. I didn't want to fully commit, otherwise it could have ended in contact, and the Williams car's not too far behind now. He's sort of closed in whilst we've been fighting. So yeah, it's we almost hit the wall actually on the inside of Lesmo 1, so we were very fortunate there to get away with that. But I had to pick my moment here. I mean, P2 is still good. I know a win would be awesome, but it wasn't worth throwing the kitchen sink at it and losing everything. So through Ascari then, we were hoping to get a better run through Ascari here, and you can see we got a massive moment over the curb that resulted in some oversteer, and that just stopped us in our tracks. If we wanted to make a move into the final corner, we lost all the momentum there. So yeah, not much you can do there. I mean, I could send it from here, but I'd probably wipe him out and make an absolute clown of myself, so not worth doing that. He does make a mistake in the final corner, but overall, a good race, good pace, but Marcel with the slightly better racecraft there hanging on to P1, and he takes the win. We get P2, literally less than a couple of attempts behind him. So P2, which is, I think that was 20 points in the bag. Marcel getting 25 points there, and a good start to the championship. And of course, we're through to the semi-final, which took place the next day, Thursday, Friday of last week, and it's pretty much every Thursday, Friday until October/November. It's quite a long season. There's 8 races overall, and then a land final. So into qualifying then for the semi-final. Heading down towards turn 1. Braking again just after the 150 metre board, trying to hook the curb on the inside, but you can see there, I mean, a lot of you might not see it, but that was horrendous. Like, we didn't fully clip the curb on the inside and got an awkward bounce, which sort of threw the car to the left before turn 2, sort of pinching our angle for turn 2, getting a really poor exit. And if you compare our sector 1 from the quarterfinal to that one, it's almost a tenth slower, so not good. And we broke slightly too deep there for the second chicane, not allowing us to carry the speed through the chicane, which is again not ideal. Through to Lesmo 1, not bad. The line was okay. We were slightly cautious on the throttle on the exit. Lesmo 2, we get a bit of a slide here, which just kills the momentum a bit, and you've got to really keep the momentum high in this car, because if it drops, if the revs drop too low, then yeah, you just lose all speed. So going down towards Ascari, you can see our sector 2 time is a low 7, and in the quarterfinal quali it was a high 6, so we're slower in both sectors already. Ascari looked pretty solid, but yeah, we're almost a tenth and a half down on our quarterfinal time going into the final sector, which on a grid this good and this tight, that is absolutely not what you want. You know, that could be the difference between being second or first or last. It's honestly that close in this series. So as I say, Parabolica, Ascari were really good. Sector 3 in general was really good. So across the line it's a 6.57. It wasn't quite as quick as our quarterfinal Sector 3. That was really, really good. But overall a 46.313. It's not quick enough. Too many mistakes, and you can see there we're P10 on the grid. So everyone else doing a really good job to deliver. And like for reference, pole times were 0s and low 1s, and a low 3 is just, it's not good enough. But into the first corner then for the race. This race is chaos, by the way. Let me just get that out there. It is absolute carnage, as is every ESL R1 Rennsport race if you start in the midfield. But we get a decent first few corners. We make the jump on the Williams car of Brzezinski, just kind of hugging the inside for turn 1, then going around the outside of turn 2, getting a decent exit. And it's all about placing your car in a place here where you're not going to get mugged, but at the same time you're not going to take someone out. So it's a tricky balance, and you can see here there's a bit of a bottleneck into the second chicane, and the car's back up, and we do end up hitting the Mercedes of Kevin Ellis Jr., I think that is. So little replay here, you can see I get tagged from behind a little bit, and then you just can't avoid that. I mean, I can back up a bit to try and get a run on them, but I've got the Williams car behind, so it's sort of just try and survive at this stage of the race. It's pretty crazy, and there's quite a few Mercs in front of us here. And I think actually Dara McCormack in the Merc in P2 is so there's 4 Mercs in this race, but you can see there at Lesmo 2 there's a bit of contact between the Apex car and the Williams car, and we just hanged back a bit, anticipated their contact, and got a run on both of them. So that was a decent move. We got up to P8 there from P10. So again, to get into the final, as this is the semi-final, we need to get into the top 6, and annoyingly every point matters. So Erhan, who's in the lead of the race, Dara, who's second, they're going to gain some big points here, and from being P8 at this stage of the race, there's no way I'm going to end up winning. So we've already sort of mentally contemplated that we're losing points here, which is not good. Just from a mistake in quali, a few mistakes in quali, that's all it takes to lose ground in this championship. So you need to be on the money every single race, every quarterfinal, semi-final, final. You can't make too many mistakes. If you do, you're going to lose points here, there, and someone who's consistent in the top 3 every single race is just going to gain points on you in the long run. But you can see there, you can't actually see, but we don't have the mirror turned on. But Kevin Ellis Jr. basically went for a move into turn 1, and we went deep. We then came back across him. We made some door-to-door contact, and that's the annoying thing with this game in the minute is when you make contact, you get stuck to the car you're having contact with. So it's annoying. Basically, I couldn't do anything. I was trying to get off him. I was trying to turn left to get off his car, but the cars were jammed together, and I ran him into the gravel. It looked like anyway. So apologies, I guess, to him for that. It's put him down from 9th into last, which is not ideal. And it wasn't my intention to run him off. It's just unfortunate circumstances, I guess. But we hold P8, and we didn't get a penalty for that either. We got no penalties in this race. So the stewards maybe recognise that the game is flawed in that sense. But we are a considerable amount of time behind Kevin Siggy in 7th, and we've lost the toe, obviously. So it's going to be tricky to try and get on the back of them unless they start fighting. The good thing is, at least in Season 1, if P7 was on the back of P6, you knew there was going to be some carnage, because the guy in 7th wasn't just going to let the guy in 6th get through to the final without trying. And even more so with this series, even P6, Marcel, P5, they want more points, so they're going to go for the move. They're not just going to sit there and get through to the final. So I can hope, or I can bank on basically something happening here to allow me to catch up, for them to slow down, to allow me to get on the back of them, get in the slipstream, and hopefully make a move. So you can see the fight actually up ahead. It's already sort of happening now on lap 3. And behind us, again, the mirror won't work in the replay feature at the minute, but the Williams car of Brzezinski, he was right behind me, but he didn't cleverly, or he didn't go for a move. He decided to work with me to try and get on the back of the cars in front, which that's exactly what you need in these situations. If someone's going for a move at this point, they're just going to put us both out of contention to make the final. So good racecraft from him, and it's going to take us a couple of laps to get on the back of these guys, but let's see what happens. Alrighty then, on the exit of T2, lap 5, you can see it's all kicking off. Audis, Porsches, defending 3 wide, going into the second chicane. Kevin Siggy's there ready and waiting, but he's also getting involved, and we're going to hang back here. We're quite a far way behind at that point. We're 8, 9 tenths, but you can see here it all bottlenecks. People are just going absolutely crazy. Bearing in mind, all these guys are through to the final, so I was really surprised, apart from Kevin, I was really surprised they were fighting as hard as they were, to be honest. And just no one's given any inch here. They all want to get in P4 and try and catch up to the podium, which I don't think is going to happen. They're so far in front, but at least that's good for us. Now we're on the back of this pack, and we can sort of pick our moment. I'm not going to go for it straight away. Or maybe I am. I forgot about this. Yeah, that's right. So the Porsche there getting bottleneck from the cars in front, and we do put our car on the inside, and I think it's fair enough. I mean, it looks like a send, but to be honest, they broke so early because of the cars in front. I broke a little bit later and just had to do something to avoid the car in front. So yeah, no real contact made there. We put our car on the inside. We did squeeze them a little bit, But I think overall that was fair enough. Just unfortunate for the Porsche that he spun around the way he did. I think he got some weird contact. The contact model in this game it's improving, but it's still not there yet. You know, when you look at a game like iRacing or something like that, you know, it's probably better than that, but it's still not quite 100% yet. So there are some weird explosions that happen when you make contact with another car and stuff sometimes, but that's good. We're 7th, and the cars in front now, we did lose initial slipstream from these 3 cars, and I was worried they were going to just sort of try and break away from me. But again, Dave Moran and Marcel really fighting hard for P4 and P5, which I just don't get it. I mean, you know, you're all through to the final. You risk so much fighting as hard as they are to get through. But I guess it's good. It's good to watch, and it's good for me in this situation. So you can see here, Dane clips the inside curb for the second chicane, goes airborne for a minute, and then it all bottlenecks, and we can't avoid Kevin there. They almost stop on the second apex of the chicane, and we just have to get on the brakes, but we still hit the car in front. Fortunately, no one spun round, and I think Brzezinski actually hit my car as well, so a proper bottleneck situation there. But we're still 7th. We do have the train behind now. Again, you can't see it, but it's really long. It goes all the way back to P12. So if we make a mistake, we're going to get punished quite hard here. So it's important we pick our moment wisely, and we don't want to be premature with our move. We want to make sure it's the right move. And to be honest, there's an element of letting these guys fight and just picking up the pieces instead of me making a move on Kevin, because it is quite risky, and obviously it matters quite a lot now, because P7, you know, you get some points but you don't go through, and getting through to the final is crucial to try and get the big points that are on offer in the final. So going into lap 7, 3 laps to go. The top 3, sorry, they're gone. You know, you can barely see them anymore. With all this fighting going on, they just broke away. So they're loving life, but for the minute we're going to stay in the tow to defend from the cars behind, but we're just going to try and stay out of trouble here. But you can see there, Kevin jinxed to the right last minute. We're braking later than him to go down the outside, trying to be a bit opportunistic, and he sort of squeezed us onto the grass. I mean, it was borderline, but it was unfortunate because I lost a lot of grip when that happened, and then I had to brake. Well, I couldn't brake anymore properly, and I ran deep into the first chicane. I took avoiding action. I cut the chicane to try and basically keep an advantage to not lose places to the cars behind. Took an off track. But you can see that on the run to the second chicane. Yeah, I mean, we were sort of bottlenecked a bit from Siggy braking fairly late, but Brzezinski just had the opportunity to brake later on the outside, go around the outside, and we hit the gravel on the exit, and we lost a bit of momentum there. So Isaac Price sort of sneaking through there into Lesmo 1. Again, nothing we can do really. Just I have watched it back to see if I could have placed my car differently, but unfortunately I think that was just a really bad situation where, yeah, I mean, maybe I could have not gone down the outside of turn 1 and kept P7 potentially, but I think Brzezinski would have gone down the inside and took P7. So I was damned if I did, damned if I didn't there, to be honest. It was a real unfortunate situation, but we're still, I mean, at that point I was like, I sort of accepted defeat a little bit. I was like, there's 2 laps to go, I'm P9, I need 3 cars here almost to have some incidents, and it wasn't happening. So my head did drop a little bit, but obviously I kept myself in it. I mean, Kevin Ellis Jr. was right behind me at this point. Mitchell de Jong and Tatala were as well, so there wasn't too much time to sit there sulking. But yeah, you can see here we're in the tow of Isaac Price. I could go for a move here because the BMW does lack a bit of straight line speed, but it was pointless. I mean, I would have got potentially P8, but I could have lost even more positions, and I think Kevin Ellis there did go down the inside of T1, but we did defend that, and I think he dropped back there to P11 again. So that's the thing, if you go for a move and it doesn't work out, you can drop back and it's even worse. So I was holding position for the minute, hoping for a miracle, hoping for 3 cars in front to collide, go off, whatever, for penalties maybe as well. But that was all I was relying on at this point. It was a miracle. And I think post-race, I mean, obviously we can't see the battle, but Max Benecke did get a penalty for some contact with Erhan Yuyovski, so he got a 5-second penalty, which put him all the way back in, I think he may have finished last, which if we knew at the time when we were P7, obviously I would have held position even more so, because we would have jumped him from the penalty and got into P6. But at the time, you know, that was impossible to know. I think the battle they had took place after I was in P7, so unfortunate, really unfortunate. You know, Brzezinski there in P7, he actually gets through from the penalty that Beneke gets. So it was just, it wasn't meant to be in this race. You know, my poor quali put me in the danger zone, and then everything I did from that moment onwards just it didn't work out. So the moral of the story is, don't mess up your quali laps. That's literally it. I mean, it's easier said than done, and it can happen to anyone. But yeah, if you qualify at the front, you're more than likely going to finish at the front. I mean, that is a very there's a bit of a Will Buxton thing to say, you know, but it's true. So that's what I took away from this. And obviously, I didn't go into the quali lap, you know, aiming to make mistakes and mess it up. It just can happen, especially at Monza with these curbs and the chicanes. It's a bit RNG. So you gotta nail it, but you gotta get a little bit fortunate as well. So I guess it's up to us to prep better and be a bit quicker in quali. And if you're quicker in quali, in practice you have a bit more margin. You can make a few more mistakes and get away with it. So I was annoyed. I had some really good pace into this race. I think this is the quickest I've felt going into a Rennsport race or event since its inception. So to not maximise it, like 100% looking at the quali times, I could have definitely got into that final and been at the front. So, but that's the thing. I'm sure plenty of drivers could have said that and thought they could have done that. It's a different thing doing it, you know, doing it under pressure. So that is that. And onto the final lap, the final half of the final lap, we are actually losing touch with Isaac Price a little bit. He's closer to Brzezinski in front, getting a slightly stronger toe. We've made a few more mistakes on this final lap, in frustration, I guess. But we're safe to Mitchell behind, so we're going to finish P9 and in turn a net P8 because of Beneke's penalty. And yeah, it's really disappointing, but that's racing and that is Rennsport for you. That's ESL R1. It's cutthroat, it's brutal, but when you get it right, it feels awesome. When you get it wrong, it sucks. You know, there's a lot of hours that go into this. It's probably the most sweaty sim racing competition there is out there at the minute. Maybe bar F1. That's pretty sweaty. But when you get it wrong, to do all those hours practice, so not to waste, but to not maximise it, it does really, you know, it's annoying. But anyway, you see there, P8, quite a long way off the win because of all that fighting, and that was that. So in the championship, we are 15th, 24 points, basically being carried by that decent quarterfinal result, and in the team's championship, we're 5th with 65 points. So not a great start, not a bad start, not as bad as season 1. You know, we had a really bad start in that one. But we've got some work to do, and the next race is actually, as of watching this video, it was yesterday, and round 2 is at Spa. So fingers crossed for Spa, we get a good result, we can be at the front, we can make the final, we get some big points. And my teammates Marco Page, Bono Huiz, Graham Carroll, hopefully they can do the business as well, and we can start to make a comeback. But yeah, thank you for watching the video. I'm sorry the channel's been dead for a few months, but I've just been busy with other things, trying to make sense of everything and focusing on esports. But yeah, I'm back trying to make content, streaming on my Twitch, streaming every race of the season, hopefully, making videos on every race, hopefully, and hopefully getting some dubs, getting some wins. That's the main thing. But yeah, give it a like if you did enjoy, sub to the channel. I appreciate you being patient with me as a creator. I'm not consistent enough, I know, I'm sorry, but hopefully I can get into some sort of rhythm now. So have a good one. See you later. Bye-bye.